everybody to part 3 of our Flutterflow tutorial. Now, originally I wanted to build part 3 out as our chat implementation, but due to a lot of people rather wanting to see the voice calling integration, I will be changing this up, and part 3 is now implementing our voice calling. Now, to do this, we're going to start by building out our backend for our calls, and then we'll start connecting things. Now, if you haven't already, you can head down to my Discord channel by going down in the description below, taking the link and then joining in. Inside of my Discord channel, you will see there's a marketplace where there's Flutterflow code. Now, I did create a new post here which does contain all of the code that we will be using inside of this application or this tutorial. Now, this is for free, you don't have to pay for it. It is though a very basic voice channel. It's not one of my advanced ones, but it does handle the majority of what you require. It will also include you being able to customize it to look and feel the way that you want it to feel. All right. So with that said, let's get jumping into building out our application. Now, the first thing that I want to do is I want to go to my calls document, right? And inside of my calls document, we need to add a few fields. The first thing that I want to do is I want to add users, which is going to be document reference, users, and is a list. Now, reminder that I am going to show you how I built out the custom widget for the voice calling, so that if you want to go and look into having this done yourself, then you are more than welcome to. You will know where to get the documents and how to handle certain functions and calls and actions, right? Now, that also includes that you will need to build out a screen for handling group calling, etc. But this is essentially how you would do it, is by having a list of all the users in the call. Now, for me, if we look at our Agora documentation, right? So if we go to our Agora documentation, Flutter, and I say voice calling, and I'm going to say Flutter SDK, there we go. Then we can start having a call here, a look here. Now, there are a few things that we need to do from our side. So in our Agora, what I'm going to do is I will add this link in the description below so that you can see what we are going to do. Now, I think I'm actually just going to start with this part. So I'm going to click on projects and I'm going to say create new project. If your screen or display does not look like mine, then it means that you're probably still on Agora version 1, and you might want to change to version 2 so there's not a lot of confusion, right? So I'm going to click on projects and then I'm going to say create a new project. I'm going to call this the Flutterflow tutorial project, right? And I will make the use case to be social, yeah, and we'll say that it's a chat room. Okay. And then I'm going to submit. Now, inside of it, I want to go in and then I want to do a few things. All right, there we go. We are now in and we have our Flutterflow name here. We have our app ID and then we have our certificate. Now, it's very important for us to have the certificate and app ID, since that is what we're going to use inside of our application. So now that we know that we have this, we also need to make sure that we get this added inside of our calls document, right? So one of the things that is a requirement is for us to have an app ID. There we go. And this is just going to be of type string. So let's select that. Then, as well as, we will be generating a token using a cloud function, right? And that cloud function will then update our calls document with the app ID, the token ID. And then also we're going to have a channel name. Now, this channel name is something that we will specify ourselves for this specific call. And then we need to set a few different parameters. the first one that we're going to do is we're going to say call missed, although I'm not really handling missed calls at this time, so we might actually not need that for now. We'll perhaps come and add it later in the tutorial. We do need to have ringing so that we can know whether this call has been answered or not, and then we want to know whether the call has been ended, so we're going to do Boolean value there, and we can do call declined. Right, we want to know whether the user declined the call or not, and we also want to know by who was this call declined. So declined by, and then I'm going to say document reference users. Now, important to note that if you decide to build out a group call, then this will most likely need to be a list, because more than one user can decline the call even though other users are accepting the call. This way you can keep track of who declined the call and who not. Alright, and then we also need to know whether user A or user B have joined the call or left the call. So we're going to do a Boolean value there for user A, and then also user B joined, right? And that's going to be a Boolean value, just like that. Alright, perfect. We now have everything that we require for our calls document. And we can now go ahead and just build out our call screens so that we can start initiating the call. So in our last tutorial, what we did was to components. We built out our incoming call box here, where we essentially have I say listen, this is an incoming call or not. I'm just going to change this text just to say incoming call, right? Because I'm not going to be handling video calls or voice calls here now, so I'm just going to say incoming call. Almost misspelled that, incoming. There we go. Alright, so that is about it. That's what we need, and we will come to add this logic soon. Another thing that I did is I've gone ahead and I'm building out a placeholder image, right? So I'm going to delete this icon and I'm going to add in a container here, and this container is essentially just also going to be round, and then have a background image of type asset. Now for me, I am going to upload a new one. So in my downloads I have it here, which is like a nice little placeholder image. There we go. So placeholder image.jpg. Now it's important that you do have this, because you will see that we will be adding it inside of our custom call screen widget. So you're going to need to have a path to such a placeholder image. Alright. Now this is only going to be displayed to the user, so it's going to have a condition which is set to the user's document photo URL, right, is not set. Just like that. Alright. And this one will obviously just be the network image for the background image, which we've set in our previous tutorial, previous part. There we go. Alright. So with this being done, the majority of all the work that we had to do has been completed, and we just now need to start building out our call screens. So in our call pages, I'm going to add a new folder, and this folder I'm going to call it calls, right? And then the first one inside of this calls folder is going to be our call log page, right? Because we want to have access to all the calls that we were a part of. So I'm going to do call log. I'm going to create the page. Now I'm going to remove that safe area, and then I can just duplicate page. So I'm going to duplicate page and duplicate page. Now, the next screen that we are going to require is to have an actual call screen, right? So this one I'm going to call the call screen. And then this one will be, when we want to do a new call. So I'm going to call this the new call page, like that. Perfect. All right. And then we can start off. So our call log page will be our first page that we navigate to from any of our pages. So if we are, for instance, on our chat home and we click on our call button here, then we will navigate to our call screen. Now, for that reason, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just grab this entire nav bar like this. Well, I'm really just going to copy it all like this, and we'll just edit it out a bit. So I'm going to say copy, I'm going to come to call log, I'm going to delete that value, and I'm going to paste. Perfect. Right, and now we just need to do some minor modifications here. The first modification that we're going to do is we're going to change this to say calls, right? And then we also want to add in here another icon. So I'm going to duplicate this icon. Let me just make sure I'm there. Why now? Let's see here. We duplicate it. There we go. All right. And I'm going to make this a search button. Where are we now? Oh, you know what? I actually don't need to. I can just delete that and we will just handle it as such here. And this text field is just going to say ask Flow AI or search for a call. Right? Just like that. Perfect. Alright. And then we have our incoming box here. We have our little camera icon, which we'll eventually use for making updates. And then our list view here is essentially going to query all of our calls. So I'm going to say calls, list of documents, right? And I can just say filter where users array contains the user record reference. Then I have all the calls. And then we can just order it by, let's order it by date time. So let's add this value in here inside of calls. Call placed at document reference, and we'll say date time, right? So like that, and we can exit. Perfect. All right, so now back on our call screen, we're gonna come back in here, just say calls, list of documents, filter by users, array contains user authenticated record reference, and we want to order this by our call placed at, and we can do a decreasing, right? And I'm going to confirm. And then essentially this now is going to change the value, right? So firstly, I want to know who's the user that I called, and therefore I need to do a query of users, right? So I'm going to do a document from reference, users, and I'm going to set this to be an if-then statement, right? Because we don't know which user we were. So I'm going to say if single condition calls document user A is equals to the authenticated user record reference, right? Then I want to return the user B reference. So I want to query our user B's reference. Otherwise, we just want our user A reference. And we can say no further changes, confirm that, and confirm, right? So now for this guy here, I am, what is this now? Some stack. Okay. So I'm going to delete this value here. Boom. Right. Can come in here. I'm going to delete this icon value there. Then inside of it, I'm going to add in another container. Can make it round like that. We can give it a nice little border color of secondary, border width of 2, and then again our background image asset, and we're going to select that placeholder image, right? Oh, that's a very thick border, so let's make it like 0.5 or G5, right? Like that. Yeah, Okay, that's fine. All right, and then naturally this is also we can make that the date time. We can handle this whether it was incoming or outgoing, and then we can just do our user's display name. So we can go into user, grab that display name, and here we will essentially say was incoming or outgoing, and then also just have a little icon here to display it. This now will then be our calls document. We'll grab that call placed at, and we'll do a datetime format, and we'll perhaps do a nice little let's say, no, let's just do a relative a moment ago, but we'll just keep it as abbreviated, and we'll just say now for UI builder. UI builder will just be name, or just make it Kyle, whatever the case may be. And then now for our text here. Now our text is also going to be an if then else statement. So we're going to do a single condition. We're going to say if calls document user A, right, is equals to authenticated user record reference, then it means that we placed this call. Therefore, we will say outgoing, right? Otherwise, it is incoming, and no, we can actually add a few more things here. Well, not really. We can just say outgoing or incoming here, and then here we can remove this as a badge. We're not going to use that. We can change this to call the client. Let's see if there's a nice little call. Let's do this. There must be one. See, nothing there. Alright. Call made, call received. So yeah, let's do that one. We'll do a call received. We'll make this a tertiary color, and this one will make a primary text color, and we can duplicate this, and this one will be the client. Now call, let's have a look at what they offer us. They don't give a lot of options. Let's see. Yeah. It would have been nice. I'm just going to do that one like that, and we will say error and make it as such. Then what we can do is this text can then also just, well, we'll know which one is that. So let's go in call made, and we can say and all condition, right? So we want to know that we made the call, so single condition, calls document user A is equals to authenticated user record reference, right? And also calls document call the client is the opposite, like that, right? And we can copy this variable, because this variable is going to be very much the same as our call received, except our call received is going to be user A is not equals to our authenticated user record reference. So that was call received, and call declined is, well, is false, right? Then for this one, for call missed, or we'll say it's call declined, we are gonna say and all. So I'm gonna actually paste this. So user record reference is equals to A, and call declined is true, right? So the other user declined our call. And then finally, I want to duplicate this guy here, and this one is going to say user A is not equal to confirm, but this time we'll do a call. So this is if we declined the call, so then we can call back, right? And we'll also have it as read. Perfect. All right, I'm happy with all of that. We've now built out our call log. We will come to change this up a bit and mix it around, but for now I'm happy with that. One thing that I want to do though is our little call button here definitely needs to have this color. So selected background, oops, let's go, and we're gonna say selected background color as a full, and our border radius, let's just quickly have a look how we built this out. So our border radius would be 25, right, and 20 padding. Now I can remove this padding from here as such. I'm gonna go in here, I'm gonna add my padding 20 and 20. This container now, we can remove our background color there and come to add it here. So make it 25, and we can remove our width from it. There we go, because now we are on our call screen. Perfect, just like that. Alright, so the next thing that we need is a little fab button here. And now this fab button is going to take us to creating a new call. So I'm going to say fab there, and we can move it up a bit here. So we're going to definitely have to come and move this. So let's say 0.85, that's a little bit much. Let's do 7.5, that looks decent, right? And then of course our color is going to be our tertiary color, or I think I have a fab button, so we can make it our fab button. And our icon is going to be call, and we want to add a call, and let's make this nice primary background like that. Perfect. And now we have our fab button. Now for our fab button, what we need to do is we need to navigate to our new call page. Therefore I'm going to open an action, I'm going to add an action, and I'm going to say navigate to our new call page. There we go. I will allow back navigation. Let's do duration to 50 and then slide up just like that. Perfect. Alright, so now this screen is built out. We are golden. What we can do is just make sure that we are able to navigate everywhere. So it's important to note that on web they don't really want you to add actions on columns anymore, but I mean this application I'm technically just going to have for mobile, so I'm going to continue doing. There we go, add an action, and we want to navigate to our chat home page such, and it would be instant. We won't allow back navigation, right? No need to add anything on our call screen. However, for our chat home, we do want to add a column or an action here, which is navigating to our call log page, and we'll also make it instant and won't allow back navigation. Right, and now to build out our new call page. Now this one is going to be slightly different, right, than the others, since this one won't have an actual app bar or a navigation bar. And what I'm then going to do now is I'm going to use this column, that's fine, and then I want to add in our app bar. But this app bar is going to look different to our others. Firstly, we're going to set the width to be infinite, and our color would be app bar, so that guy there. We then want to set a nice little elevation here of 4, like that. And oh yes, let's just also make sure that our call page is primary background. It is looking nice and clean. And now we can remove our height, since we're not going to need that. Okay. Now, finally, inside of our app bar, we're going to have a column. And we do not need to expand this column. Well, we can, but we don't need to, right? And then we're firstly going to have a stack inside the column. So let's add our stack. And this stack is going to be like a little search bar that we can use, which is essentially if we are not searching and if we are searching. So the first one is a row, and we also need to handle whether we are searching or not. So we need to specify a parameter, well, not a parameter, but a page state. Our page state is going to be search. It's going to be Boolean, and we can set the default value to be false, right? Or actually we can make it true. Let's make it true, and then it will no, let's keep it as false here. Okay, then the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to have a start call value, which is going to be document reference users, and then we're going to be recents, right? So if we are starting a call with the recents or not. There we go. And the default would be false. There we go. We can click on confirm, and then we have our page states ready. And now we can start with building out our row. Now it is important to note that we need to specify some things here on this column, which for one, we want to have a start spacing of 40. This just makes sure that if we have, a device here, let's say we have an iPhone 14, let's just display the device, right? Then this little cover of that phone won't interfere with what we are building. So let's say Samsung Galaxy, you can see there the camera is still over the screen, but we are in the clear. Okay. Now inside of our row, I'm going to use an icon button like this, and I don't want to add any full color. I do, however, want to add a little back button. That one will be fine, and then we can add in text. Now after our text, I also want to add in another icon button. Well, we'll do a row and then do an icon button like this, and this row is going to expand all the way. I'm going to align all my stuff to the right and give it some in spacing of 10. This guy will have some start spacing of 10 and some item spacing of 10, right? And I can delete these values and I can change this to be search. There we go. Right. Now the next thing is this should only be visible to the user if they are not searching. So I'm going to go to page state and I'm going to say search is false. So apply the opposite. Confirm. And then I can say here, select contact to call, like that. All right. let's just make that lowercase. Right, so select contact to call. I'm happy with that. I do, however, want to just make it nice and bold. And, you know, we could make it tertiary color, but I'm happy with keeping it as white here. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to duplicate this row, right? But this time it will be visible if we are searching. Now this row is going to be built a little bit differently. The reason why is because it's going to have a search bar in it. Okay, so what I then want to do, to be honest, is I want to wrap this widget in a container like that. I can remove that padding such. I do want to just, I don't want to show that in the UI builder. And then this text field is going to be replaced with a text field. So let's go now grab a text field there. Let's move this row below that text field. And another thing is, this text field, we can remove our paddings. There we go. We're going to keep autofocus on for this one, because if you click search, then it immediately needs to bring this up and bring up your keyboard. Okay, now for the fun part. Alright, currently this is expanding all the way. What I want to do is I want to wrap this widget in a row. So let's cut this out, add a row, now paste it. It's not going to let me. Okay, we'll just build it from scratch, that's fine. So I'm going to add in a container, and I just want to make sure that this row padding, it starts with 10 and ends with 10, like that. We can then give this container a full width. Don't know why I didn't want to do that now. Let's go in, let's just do that. And we can remove the height. Okay. Next up, what we need to do is we can set this to have the color of search box, which I created inside of my theming, and border radius of 25 would suffice. Alright, I'm then going to add in a row inside of it, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add in the icon button, which I'm going to remove the values from it. I'm then going to add in a text field like that, and I can just duplicate this button and just move it to the bottom there. There we go. Right, now I do want to give some padding, so I'm going to say 8 and 8. Well, I mean, I can always just give a start spacing and end spacing, which will probably be better than padding. There we go. Alright, and then this guy would be a back icon like that. Our text field, we need to remove a few things from our text field, one of which is label. We don't want label. What we want is to have some hint text which says search, right? Like that. Then also, we don't want any input border. We can remove our paddings like that. This guy will be a little clear icon. Wanted to say something is not adding up there, so a little clear button as such. And we can do an update on page change or text change. So we will come eventually and add this in, right? And add the search functionality. For now, I am going to keep it the way that it is. We'll do capitalization to be words, sorry, not sentences, because we'll be handling with names. And, you know, submit type would be search. Not enforced, that's fine. All right, okay, I'm happy with that. Let's see. We can do a dense, then it would look something like that, which is just terrible. I'm going to keep it as such. That is good. I'm happy with that. Then also let's just set our condition here, which is our page state, and that should be search is true. All right, now we are done somewhat there. I do, however, just want to update this, and this is going to be update page state, and it would be search. I'm going to set the value to be false, right? And this guy here is going to have an action of clear text fields and only be visible if the text field is set and not empty. So widget state, text field search, wait, hold on. I need to go single condition. Widget state, text field search is set and not empty. Perfect. All right. Now, for UI purposes, I want to see our other value here. This guy is going to have an action, which is going to be update page state search, and I'm going to set the value to be true, like that. Perfect. Now, I mean, you could always add a little animation while this disappears, then everything comes out. There's a lot of things to do. We might look into doing that later on. All right. Let me just see my notes here. All right. The next thing is our column for incoming calls, right? So again, we need to know whether we have an incoming call or not. And so I'm going to do a row. And this row is going to have our little incoming call box. There we go. Right. Now, I'm going to put this in the center as such. And then this guy, I want to give start spacing of 10 just to make sure that nothing happens there. I'm going to wrap my widget in a container, which I'm going to set full width or expand it in full. There we go. Perfect. Right. That's looking nice and clean, and we can now finally do our query. And our query is again to query our user call management. So we're going to query collection, user call management. We only need to do a single document, and we're going to filter for actually no, we're going to do a document from reference. My apologies. We're doing a document from reference, a user call management, and we're selecting it from our user record reference, user call management document. As such, perfect. All right, that looks great. Now we can just pass in our parameters here. Now, if we remember what our parameters are that we need to pass in, this would be pretty interesting to see. I now need to remember myself. Okay, let's go to our incoming call box. All right, okay, I am back. I don't know why there was that parameters, those booleans, because they are not needed. I think that was just automatically generated by Flutterflow when we created it. And so I'm just going to come back in here, and I'm going to set my parameter to be my call reference. There we go. Now, for us to just have things easier and not get confused again later in the future, what I'm going to come and do is I'm going to edit this, and I'm going to say call reference, such, confirm. Perfect. Let's just do a custom functions check. I see they want to see it, and then we also need to deploy our Firestore indexes, as well as our Firestore rules. Now, if you don't know why it is that it wants this, I'm going to say tagged users to be of users, confirm, tagged users, save changes. Actually no, I'll just say authenticated users can have access here because of the way that I will be handling these calls. So authenticated users, tagged users for that. Everyone users collection, we can just do authenticated users here. That's also fine. Right, and we can deploy now, and then we definitely need to deploy our Firestore indexes. What this is basically for our filtration. So if you think about how we filtered for our calls and our chats, that is what Firestore indexing is all about, right? So now to be back on our new call page, we've now done our calls, we've passed in our active call reference, and then we are golden. Now I am going to only have this be visible, so I can say it needs to only be visible if incoming is true. Okay. Great. Let's just name this as our app bar so we don't get confused later. We know where everything is. And now for the fun part. Now we are going to be building out our column here, which is going to not only hold our recently called users, but it's always also going to do our all the context on what's flow, right? Which in this case for this application is all of the users. We're not doing any import of contacts. I will in the future do a tutorial on that, importing contacts, and then also checking if that contact has an account with your application and returning those values. I'll most likely do a tutorial on that in the future, but that is functionality that I've added inside of the full application template that I will be putting up for sale shortly. Right, now inside of this column, I'm going to add in another column, right? This column, the main column, we will make to be scrollable. Yeah, let's make that a scrollable column. And then technically we don't need to add in another column. So I'm going to delete that column. I'm just going to start building out. So the first thing is to have a text. Then we're going to have a list view. We're going to have another text, and then duplicate this guy, another list view. Right now I might just actually come and copy over this list view once I'm done building that out. One thing is for searching, I do want everything to be on the left, right? And I am going to give some padding. Actually, you know what? I am going to not make this scrollable. I'm gonna wrap my widget in a column. So I'm gonna just put it in a column. I'll make this one scrollable and then give this one some padding, 10 and 10. This is just so that if you have a scroll bar, then you won't see it, right? Okay, all of my list views don't need to be, can keep it as shrink wrapped. I just don't want it to be scrollable. Perfect, okay. Since our column is scrollable, right? So now I need to make this text to be our recently called users. So we're going to do recently called users, and then this one will say contacts on WhatsApp. Like that. Okay. Now I'm going to give a start spacing of, let's say, 20 and an end spacing of, let's say, 40. And that is good. Right, so now we can start with our little list view. I also just want to come in here and I want to say I want to give item spacing 10, which would be good. Alright, now for our list view. Right, inside of my list view I want to add a row. Then inside of this row I'm gonna have another row, and then with a little, perhaps an icon button, right? Yeah, we'll do an icon button as such. Now I'm going to take this row and I'm going to extend this row all the way. So this icon button is here at the far back. And then I'm not going to give it a full color. I'm however going to give it a border color. We can maybe make that 2. And I want to say call like that. Make the icon color tertiary. And I'm good with that. Maybe just make it 20, the size. And maybe the button size 45. Yeah, I'm happy with that. And let's make the full color, instead of being empty, let's make it a primary background. Then we know it's filled. And then we can build out our row. Now our row is just going to take in a container, which we're going to set to be circular. And we can say 50. Right, let's just come in here. Let's make this so that it's nice and round. Go back to our container there. And let's see. How do we want to do this? I want to give it a border color of tertiary. Then I'm going to give it a border width of 2. Come now. There we go. I'm actually going to keep the diameter as 45. I want to copy this guy and paste it in itself. Okay, well, we'll just, if it doesn't want to paste, we'll just create another one. So 45, borders, tertiary, and border width is 2. Okay, no border width needed, and border color we can remove from this one. Alright. Okay, and then we can set a background image to be asset, and it would be this placeholder image. This container would be our users document. So if we come in here, we are going to do a query, right? And our query is going to be to an app state, which is going to be recently called users. So recently called users, it's going to be a list, it's persisted, document reference, and users, right? And we can create it. There we go. Now this list view is then going to generate a query for it. So we can say recently called users, and we're gonna grab our app state called users. We're gonna say map list items, and then first few items, and let's do only the first 10, right? We can save it. There we go. Now on our row, what we want to do then is we want to do a document from reference users, and we want to grab that user item. Great stuff. And we can then finally come in here. We can say it's cached, it's users, it's a photo URL, and this container would only be visible if users document photo URL is not set. Confirm. Great stuff. That's all we need for that. Okay, then we need to add in a column here. Now this column is going to have text and then another text, so duplicate. status row and give it some item spacing of 10. Now let's maybe make it 8, right? And I am happy with this being 14. I do, however, feel the bottom one, we're going to make that to be 12. Medium is fine. Primary text color, we're going to make that tertiary, like that. Let's do our alignment to the right, and here it's just going to say calling, maybe with a few dots, and here it would be users document display name, right? Now this calling is only going to be visible, so it's going to have a conditional visibility of and all, and it's going to be of page state. The first one is going to be page state, and recent needs to be true, and then single condition users document reference actually we can let's do page state and then start call user reference document ID. I didn't do a single condition, my apologies guys. There we go. Page state start call user reference is equals to our users document reference, right? There we go, and we can confirm it and confirm it. Now we're going to do something very similar to this, except it would be reasons would be false, right? For our button, we just want to know whether our page state is set. So we can just go in single condition and we're going to say page state start call, no further changes, and that is not set, right? Just like that. Perfect. Our list view, on the other hand, needs to have some item spacing. We can make it 10 or even 8 like that, and that looks beautiful. All right. Okay, I am gonna delete this value here. I'm gonna duplicate this guy, and I'm gonna move it down below. But instead of generating a query there, right, and even doing a document reference there, what we're going to do is we're going to do a query collection. We're going to query users, list of documents, and exclude our current user. What we can do is to order them by display name and maybe say decreasing, whatever the case may be, right? And we can say confirm. Now, in our first container, we need to go in, say our background image is our user's document photo URL. This guy would only be visible if the user's document photo URL is not set or empty. This one would be user's document display name. Our calling now would be recent, apply the opposite, and then we're going to say start call is equals to our user document reference, right? Confirm. Okay, and our icon button is sorted. All right, now that we've done that, we can already see that we are starting to build things out. I do want to first, before we actually start adding our actions to our buttons here for starting the call and accepting the calls, we now need to build out our call screen, right? So we're almost ready to add in our code and go through it. Now, for the call screen, I am going to remove that. I'll actually leave it as safe error enabled, right? And then I want to add in a stack, right? Just like that. So nice looking stack. And now we need to go and do our call screen. And for that, we're going to go to the Discord channel, right? Where you can find the link in the description below. Going to go to the Discord channel, and we want to come and get this Ghost Coding Basic Voice channel. So I'm going to expand it, and let me just view whole file like this. I'm going to grab it here at the top. I'm going to go all the way down like this, copy it, go back into my application. There we go. And I'm going to say widget because I want to create a new widget. I'm going to paste in that code, scroll all the way up, then grab our Ghost Coding Basic Voice Channel widget, right? And just like that. Now, inside the Discord channel, you'll also see that there is a readme.md file. I want to view this whole file. And why? Because for the voice call screen, we need to add these dependencies, right? So the first one is our Agora RTC engine. I'm using version 5.3.1 for this, and permission handler. There we go. There we go. Right. I'm going to click so that it adds all of this in like that, and I can save the widget. It's then going to say parameters in the settings don't match parameters in the code editor. If you confirm, we will replace the parameters. Yes, we do want that because we need to have all of these parameters added. This will allow you to customize the code a bit inside the Flutterflow UI without having to come and change on the code. Don't worry about this. It will always just give a bunch of errors. Flutterflow, they are terrible when it comes to coding inside of Flutterflow for this reason. So I tend to do all my programming and custom code inside of Visual Studio Code, right? There we go. We can now just click on our button and this will now compile our widget for us. Okay, we can then just go back while that compiles, and then what I want to do is I want to click on widget and go down and grab Ghost Coding Basic Voice Channel. I'm going to say the width needs to be 100% and the height needs to be 100%, and then we'll start now building out on this, right? Now, one thing that we need for our call screen is we need to have a page parameter which is set to call reference of document reference and calls. Now, I had somebody ask me in the past, why do I do a document reference instead of a document? And the reason is when you pass in just a document to the next page, it doesn't read new updates inside of the document. That's why it's better to do a document reference and then do a document reference from that document reference, which then allows you to listen to changes inside of the document. Okay. So now on our stack, we're going to do a document from reference. It's going to be calls, and it's going to be our call reference document, and we can confirm, right? Now you're going to see that you have a massive amount of errors here, and that is just because you need to now come in and specify all these values, right? So the first thing that we need to do is we're going to grab our token from our calls document and token ID. Our app ID is also going to come from the call documents and app ID. We can then have channel name, which is going to be calls document, and there we go, channel name, and then we can now start specifying background values. For me, my background value is going to be my primary background. Head percentage width. It's not important that you know that this is based on percentage, so it's on fractional. So that means I'm going to say 0.96 for example, or 98. I can just make it 1 and it will take up this full screen width, which in my case this is exactly what I'm going to do. And I'm going to say the head percentage height needs to also be, let's say 1, right? So it's going to take up the full space. Now the main container border radius, I don't care about that. That's going to be 0. I will show you what all of this is now when our Ghost Coding Basic Voice Channel is compiled, so that you have an understanding of what it is that I am changing here, right? Now the main container background, I'm also going to make that a primary background color. And well, I'll actually make this guy to be that. Yeah, okay. Then profile picture width. This is also very much a percentage value. So for me, I am going to go in, I'm going to say global properties, I'm going to say fraction of screen width, and I'm going to put this at 0.9. Right? Sorry, it needs to be global properties, fraction of screen width. Make sure that it's not the entire 100%, and you can just put this as 0.9. I'm going to confirm that, and then I'm going to copy variables, and I'm going to paste it in here too, just like that. Okay, so even the profile picture height, I want that to be the same here. This will mean that my profile picture will be nice and round. Now you can change this and set this however you want based on percentage. If you just want to have one large big square profile picture, then please feel free to do it. That is up to you. Then now comes the part for the placeholder image path. Now, if you remember, I said that you will definitely need to have a placeholder image path specified, or at least upload one into your assets file. That is for this reason, right? So when you have uploaded an item inside of your app assets, sorry, no, it's not there. Let's go in here. Where is it now? Oh, there, images. So project assets. So for me, I have my wallpaper, I've got my little icon, and then I've got this placeholder image. Now my placeholder image name is placeholder underscore image.jpg. Now in Flutterflow, it will be this location. So this image, placeholder image, will be in the folder assets, images, and then placeholder image. So whatever the name of your image is, just make sure that you do use this path for it, right? I can now come back in here and I can say placeholder image path needs to be that JPEG, right? Then now comes the fun part. We need to add in user profile image, etc. And to do that, we actually need to wrap our widget in a container that we are going to give also the full width and height. So full width and height like that. And on it, we're going to do a document from reference, users, and we're going to do an if then statement. So if single condition calls document user A is equals to our authenticated user record reference, right? Then we want to return our user B. Otherwise, we want to return our user A. Confirm, no further changes. There we go. Perfect. So let's add it in now. Our user profile image is going to be our user's document. And so this is one thing. If you see that you are not able to grab the user's document photo URL, then it means that the parameters that Flutterflow passed in for this ghost coding basic voice channel on our profile image, so here, would be string instead of image path, right? So both Flutterflow reads image path. Image path is a string value, but they created their own thing of image path. So if you don't specify this image path here, then it will throw you that error and you can't select image path, right? It's stupid. I hate it because essentially it's a string, right? In your code, you specify it as a string regardless. So just make sure that you change that to be image path, and we can come in here now, go to our user's document, and there we go. We can grab that photo URL. Now for me, I'm gonna go over and above here, say profile border radius to be like 500 just to make sure it's nice and round. And you don't need to. You can make this something like to be like 50 and 20 for that matter. Let's do that. I'll keep it as 20 for now. Then we can say the profile border color needs to be tertiary. I want that to be 5, the border width. Action container background, that we can make primary. I'm gonna say 20. No. Yeah, okay. Radius bottom is gonna be 0. It's gonna be 0. Top right is gonna be top 20 and top left is 20. Then we can do a button row padding of 20, button width. We can say 50, button height 50, in-call elevation, I'm going to make that 8. In-call border radius to be 50. Yeah, I mean, you can make that 100 too if you really want to. Then in-call background, I want that to be nice and red. Then call. It's in call, so that needs to be our icon. I'm gonna say 24. Oh, I can make it larger. I can say something like 30. 30 will be fine. And then icon color, I want to make that to be primary background. Right? We'll come and handle our in-call action shortly. Then our speaker button elevation needs to be 8. Our border radius, I'm gonna make that also 100. And speaker enabled color, gonna say is tertiary, so speaker icon active, so I'm gonna say it needs to be a volume, that one, and we'll make it to be primary backgrounds, set it to 30. Inactive, we'll do volume, but this time it will be like that, and the icon color would be tertiary, 30. And then the speaker disabled color, I'm gonna just make that the primary background color. Alright, then the active box background, gonna set this to be secondary text. Well, not really. Let's do it. Incoming call box like that. We'll do a 20. Calling text color would be tertiary. Calling text string would be a combined text. Right? Of calling, and then we want to specify our user's display name fur, and this can just be our user's display name. User speaking icon, I'm gonna say it needs to be audio like that. We can have that as tertiary too. Icon size would be, let's make that 18, and user not speaking, say line, and like that. So 18, and this time it could be alternate. Right. Okay, I'm happy with that. And now we no longer have any errors. In order for you to see what we just did, this should have compiled now already. I see it hasn't yet. It can take a few minutes to compile, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pause this video and wait for it to compile. Alright, there we go. We finally compiled, and we can view our widget. Right. Now, for this, I'm just going to give it a width of 400, height of 844, and background value of primary background, which is somewhat what I just said, right? So there you can see it's looking now like this. Okay. All right. Let's see. Then for our main container background, I'm also going to give a main background head percentage width. I want to say that that needs to be 0.9. Oh, we can make that 1. Head percentage height 1. So there you can see now it is the full screen. and main container border radius 0 is fine. Okay, now for the profile picture width, I'm gonna say 9.6. Well, for this I'll just do as 0.4. Actually, a 0.5 is fine. Now that can then just be 1. Placeholder image, I don't care too much about that now. Then border radius, we'll make that like 500, you know, or we can maybe make it 20. Profile border color, we'll make that tertiary, and border width 5. Okay. Then the action container background, we'll make that to be an accent color. Left, top right, 20, 20. We can even make that like a secondary text so that you can immediately start seeing it somewhat. We just need to give some padding so that you can see, right? Then button width, let's make that to 50, sorry, 50. We can now go ahead and make that the search box. End call action or elevation, let's make it as 8. Border radius, we'll make 50. End call icon, call, and then color, primary background, end call background color would be red, and we'll make it 30. So there it looks like that now. Okay. Then speaker enabled color. I think we said that it would be tertiary, and then volume. Right. Like this. Volume. None. Right. This guy would be primary backgrounds. Speaker disabled color, we'll do a search box, right, since that's the color that we're using. And then the actual icon color would be tertiary, and we'll do a 30 and a 30. Great, just like that. Okay. Right, then active box backgrounds, we'll make that the incoming box. I believe that was the color we selected. Calling text color would be tertiary, and calling ... But we'll go through all of this when we actually run the tests as well. So just audio and line. Then size is 18. This guy we made tertiary, and this one we made alternate, I believe. Okay, and that's fine. I'm just going to save it as such, and then you already see something like that here, right? Okay. We'll come to change things and chop things around as time goes on, but for now let's quickly build out the rest. Now the first thing that we need to do, right, is just for this inside of the stack, we're going to do another container. This container is just going to be for when the call has ended. So what I want to do is I want to specify it all over. I'm going to make a primary background color. Then inside of it I am going to add in a column, and we'll probably do another column that I'll probably just expand all the way like that, and then finally add in another column which I'll just also expand all the way, just put everything in the center. This guy here, I can put everything at the bottom like that, and then we can start building this out. So the first thing in this one is going to be a text, and then I'm going to have a container, and inside this container I'm going to have another container, right? For this container I want it to be global properties, fraction of screen width, not entire width, but let's say 7, right? Confirm. I'm gonna copy it. I'm gonna say fraction of screen height, so global properties, fraction of screen height. Actually, I can just paste it most now. I just copied it. So paste it, confirm. Technically, I can just do that. That's fine as well. Border color, let's make that tertiary, elevation 2 and border width 2. Perfect. And then we're going to do the same thing with this one. So like that. Gonna paste it just like that. Alright. Okay. Then again, I am just gonna copy this variable. I'm gonna paste it here so I can have access to my users. And here it would say, well, we need to do some conditions here. For now, I'm just going to say call ended. We'll come and specify those conditions shortly. I do, however, want to just increase this text size to, let's say, about 25. Looks good, yeah. Even 20 is fine. Right. Default value, I'm just going to say 200 firm, so it looks something like that. And obviously the same here, so default value is 200, confirm, and there we go. So border width, let's make that more like 5, looks better. And then we need to build in our call again button. So here I'm going to add in a row, I'm going to center it, and I'm going to add a icon button, which will make 70 the size and 100 whatever. There we go. And then also full color, tertiary, border color, tertiary. There we go. And then call. Yeah. Let's see, there's no outgoing. Yeah, okay. Phone call back. Yeah, let's just do that. So little phone call back there. We'll do a 30, even 35. 35 is a little bit much, so we'll do a 30 and then maybe give it a primary background so it looks like that. Perfect. Alright, so call ended, and we can set these values. So this one will be of cached photo URL for the user's document. So there. And this guy will be a background image, assets, there we go, placeholder. Alright, single condition, user's document photo URL is not set, confirm, and that is it. Okay, we'll come and handle these actions shortly. What we can do so long is on this column, we'll just give an item spacing of 10. And then for this call ended, we can so long specify the parameters for it. Now, the first one is going to be if then. So if then, we're going to do an and, right? So if call ended, call ended, and call declined, confirm. So if the call both ended and it was declined, then we need to do a text combination, so combine text, and call the client by, then we want to do an if then else. So if single condition calls document user A is equals to authenticated user record reference, if that is true, then we want to essentially return, we need to check the declined by, my apologies. So it's not user A, it is declined by. We need to check who declined the call. So if declined by is equals to authenticated user record reference, then we want to return you. So call the client by you. Else we want to return our users document display name. Confirm. Else we just want to say combine text, and it's going to be call ended with, I can't type today, so call ended with, and then users document display name. Confirm. And then let's just add a UI builder, call the client by you. Right, just like that. Okay. That's now all looking pretty great. I'm very happy with it. What we can do is, give some all around padding here of, let's say 10. And that is it. Perfect. All right. So now we know that one has been completed. What we can do so long is just specify our conditions for when it should be visible. And that means that our call screen, right, should only be visible, so conditional visibility, if calls document user B joined. Right? For this screen that we just built out now, this should be visible if our calls document call ended. There we go. Right, now for our next one. Our next one is if we come into the screen, right, because we received a push notification to say, hey, listen, you have a new call. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to duplicate this, right? And then we're just going to specify some values here, and that would mean here we're going to open this up and we're going to say and all. So the first one needs to be that the calls document ringing is set to true, but also that single condition calls document user B, right, is equals to the authenticated user record reference. Right, so we are in the screen and we are busy receiving the call. So the other user A is calling us, then we want to see the screen so that we can accept the call instead of ending the call. Right? So there we go. What we are then going to do is we're going to just change this column here to be slightly different. We are going to have a row, right? But inside of this row, we're going to have 2 columns. What I want to do is I want to separate them as such, and then we're going to build in our little drag targets, right? Now what I can do is I can just say here incoming call from, so I can remove all of that, and here it would be combined text. I'm just going to say incoming call from users document display name, right? Confirm. What I can also do is just make sure that this text is underneath this container like this, and I'm actually going to remove that, and I'm just going to add the users display name there like that. Great stuff. Okay, then here we're going to add first of all a drag target, right? We are then going to add in a little icon like such, and then our drag or draggable widget. Alright, now for our drag target, we're going to add in a container. We're going to make it circular. The full color, we can make it like a red color. Nice, right, red, but we're going to sort of make it more towards the transparent side. Then the border color itself is going to be nice bright red. We'll make it a 3 like that, and we'll make the diameter to be 70 as such, right? Maybe even 2 is fine. Okay. Then for our icon, I am gonna select arrow up. Oops. Let's do that. So arrow. Let's see. This one is good. I like that one. And we'll make the size to be about 30, like that. And the icon color also again nice, big and red. Can maybe make it 35, like that. Yeah. All right. Then I want to give this column some spacing, item spacing of 20, right? Then for our draggable, we want to have in an icon button like this. Now the full color is gonna be nice, bright and red, like that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy that, come in here, paste it for the border as well. I do think I want to make the button slightly bigger. Maybe make it 50. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make this to be 60. Such. Border radius, we can make that 50 so it's nice and round. And then end call button, right? And I want to make this primary background. Just keep it nice and uniform. Okay. I am somewhat happy with that. Can maybe make that 26. Right. Okay. Now, this icon button needs to have like an animation, right? We want it to shake a bit. So on page load, we're going to add an animation, and we're going to add a shake animation. Where is that shake? Let's quickly find it here. Why do I keep missing? Ah, there we go. There's our shake. Right, now the first thing that we need to do is we need to loop the animation, and we're going to say the duration can stay at 1000 milliseconds. The frequency is going to be 30, and the rotation can be 8. Ooh, like that. So let's preview it. It's going to look like that. And then our icon button is also going to have an animation. Its animation, it's going to be on page load. We want to do a slide, and we're first going to do a slide in, right? And we can set our initial position to be 20, and here for it to be -20. So now if we preview it, it would look like that, yeah. Okay. And then we also need to slide ease out like that, but this time our initial position is going to be 20, and we're going to go to 20. There we go. Alright, so I'm happy with that. All I'm going to do now is I can delete this column, and I'm going to duplicate it. There we go. And then we just need to change our coloring. So firstly, we're going to say tertiary, nice and bright. Tertiary again. This time we're just going to do like that. I'm happy with that. Then tertiary, our button will be full color tertiary, border color would be tertiary, and then it would be call answered, right? Like that. Perfect. Okay, I'm happy with that screen. I do believe that we've set its visibility condition. There we go, we did, yes. And then now we just need to do the final one, right? And the final one is just for when we are making the call, right? We also need to be able to end it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just duplicate it, right? Because I'm happy with all of this. All I want to do is I want to delete this guy here. There we go, we have it. And then we're going to just specify different conditions for this one, right? And the conditions that we're going to specify is ringing, yes, true, but user A is equals to our authenticated user record reference. Perfect. All right. So I think that is it for our part 1. We've built out all of our UI. So this is part 3.1, and I will be dropping part 3.2 also today, where we will then add in our custom function, our cloud function, in order to generate our Agora token. We will be adding all our action flow for accepting the calls, push notifications, handling, creating the call, checking that the cloud functions are triggering, and I will also take you through the Agora API documentation so that you can understand better how to integrate further customizations into the code. All right. Thank you so much, guys. Please do head down to the Discord channel if you have any questions. You can ask it in any of the relevant channels or just pop a question in the open chat. Thank you so much.